fam. So on tonight's menu, we are going to make a lasagna with homemade red sauce. Obviously, it's all going to be plant-based, but the reason I'm doing this is because it's a Valentine's Day, and what could warm your heart more than lasagna with fresh red sauce? And my man hasn't had my sauce yet, so he's in for a treat. I did grow up in New Jersey, and while I'm not Italian, the people that taught me everything I know are Italian. So let's get started. I'm going to make my sauce in a Dutch oven. Now, anyone who has made homemade sauce knows that you need a splash guard or you're going to make a mess. I forgot my splash guard, so we're going to make a mess. But that's okay. I do have the top to the Dutch oven, so I'm going to try to curb the mess that we're about to make. But right now I have my olive oil heated up. I'm going to add some garlic and finely chopped onion, and that's going to start the base. So we're going to sizzle that in there for about 3 minutes until you see the onions start to get a little bit translucent, and then we're going to add our crushed tomatoes. As you can see, we have our onions and garlic and plenty of olive oil. If you haven't made fresh sauce before, let me tell you, now is not the time to be stingy on the olive oil. You want good quality olive oil in there to sizzle everything up. So now we're going to go ahead and add our crushed tomatoes. I like to use this brand. It already has some of the basil in it. We will add fresh basil in a little bit once this cooks down. So you're going to add that 1 can at a time. I prefer about 3 cans. You can adjust as needed, but we want to have a decently large batch of sauce. And then what we're also going to do after I add all of these in here, I'm actually going to add some water to these cans. Don't worry, that will not water down your sauce. This is going to cook down for a nice long time, and any of that excess water is going to evaporate out. You're going to have a lot of really good deep flavor. So see how there's still plenty of sauce in there that it's a little hard to get out. So you could use a spatula scraper. I'm going to do both. I'm going to add a little bit of water to these cans, swish it around, and then spatula scrape it out just to make sure that we don't miss anything. Now our sauce is heating up, and I've stirred it around real good. And then the other thing that I'm going to want to add is some wine. Now when you put wine in your sauce, first of all, I never measure. I just put kind of about a cup or so in there. When you put wine in your sauce, some people will put wine that they really don't like to drink, or wine that's gone bad and it's already vinegared, and you really, really don't want to do that. I would never put wine in my food that I wasn't willing to drink myself. Mine is chicken marsala. But anyway, you're not going to want to put a red wine in your sauce that you really don't like drinking, because obviously your sauce is going to take on a little bit of that flavor. And if you don't have wine in your house and you don't drink wine and you don't want that in your sauce, I totally respect that. This is just how I make mine, and I find it delicious. So we got some of that in there. Any of the alcohol is going to cook off over time. So like I said, this is going to be simmering for quite a while. We're going to want to give it at least an hour before we take it off the stove and add it to our lasagna. So now we're just going to kind of let it sit and simmer and do its thing. And I'm going to cut up some fresh basil, but we're not going to add that until a little bit later. So while our pasta sauce is simmering away over there, we're going to make the ricotta filling for the lasagna. So in addition to the ricotta, we're also going to do some impossible meat, but I'm going to saute that up when we're ready for it, make sure it's all crumbly and delicious. But in the meantime, I bought firm tofu. Normally I buy extra firm when I'm cooking other things, but because we want to make ricotta out of it, we're gonna mush it up with our hands. So I bought the firm instead of the extra firm, and we're just gonna mush this up like this. We have the parsley added. I'm gonna go ahead and add a generous amount of garlic powder. I love garlic powder, so in my opinion, you really can't add too much, but that's just me. Some onion powder, nutritional yeast. You want to add quite a few shakes of this. It's going to mix in with everything and add that This is what it's gonna give it a little bit of like that cheesy, nutty flavor that comes with nutritional yeast. That's why you want to use this guy. And as always, a generous amount of salt. And of course the fresh cracked pepper. So we're gonna mix all of this together. And we're gonna let that sit. And there's a trick. As we know, tomato sauce can get a little bit acidic because of the tomatoes. And you're gonna add the salt. I personally like to add a little bit of fresh crushed red pepper flakes, but if spice is not your thing, you don't have to do that. I like a tiny bit of a kick, not too much. And to balance the acidity of the tomato sauce, we're gonna add just a little bit of white sugar. You can add a tiny bit of that at a time, and again, it's just to cut the acidity. The sauce is simmering along. I did already add some salt, so I'm gonna add a little bit of the pepper flakes. I really don't add too much. I don't like it too spicy. Just a teeny tiny kick will do the trick. And then you are gonna wanna let the spoon cool and taste it. That's tasting good. Tastes nice and salty. I did say that I wanted to add sugar earlier, but Mark and I have been doing such a fantastic job not having too much refined or processed sugar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of my sugar substitute. So this is what I use. I like this whole earth sweetener. It's made with the stevia and the monk fruit. And I have 3 packets here. Again, you don't need a ton to cut the acidity, just a little bit to add some sweetness. So I'm gonna cut up the basil. And when you chop it up, you want a really big handful. And then we're gonna sprinkle that on it. You probably don't need quite as much basil as I put in, but I absolutely love it. It's one of those things you gotta kind of taste it as you go. So you wanna put the heat on low. Just let that keep simmering. It'll be fine. Give it a stir every once in a while. And we're gonna start making the impossible meat and getting the other ingredients ready for our lasagna. So I have my impossible meat ready to go. Now, to be honest with you, I normally use Beyond Meat. So this is gonna be a little bit of an adventure for me too. Although I have used the Impossible sausage before, and that was fantastic. So I have faith in the brand. This is going to be delicious. I'm pretty excited. Obviously, you want to break it up into crumbles right away, and then let those crumbles cook all the way through. And you're going to toss them around so that they cook on every side. Now, if I'm being honest with you, that cooked up very fast. That was probably less than 5 minutes. So if you're cooking impossible meat, be sure to keep an eye on it. I'm going to remove it from the heat, and then we're going to start to assemble our lasagna. All right, we are ready to start assembling our lasagna. I am going to use this one. It says oven ready. I personally really don't like boiling lasagna noodles. It's a pain in the butt. So currently I'm preheating the oven to 375 according to these directions, and then it says to bake covered for 25 minutes. Uncover for 5, and then let it rest for 15. So that is the game plan. We want to add the sauce first. We can be pretty generous with the amount that we're laying on the bottom because we want to make sure that that pasta has some liquid to absorb. So there we go. Now we're ready for the pasta. So 3 of these guys across the bottom. And then I'm going to do another layer of the sauce. Then we're going to add some of this impossible meat. Make sure you're trying to spread it out fairly evenly. Now, I hope you didn't forget about our ricotta mixture sitting over here, because definitely going to need to add some of that in. And of course, we're going to spread it around. I added some of this diet mozzarella, which is delicious. And then we're going to add some more sauce. Need another layer of that. If you haven't made lasagna before, you know, you kind of just got to keep layering. A little bit more of that liquid that our pasta is going to be absorbing. We're going to layer another 3 sheets of this guy on here. A little more sauce. And then we're just going to continue the layers. We're going to add some of the impossible meat. And the ricotta, and then the shredded mozzarella. We're just going to keep going until this guy is all full. So I did use up the rest of the impossible meat as well as the ricotta mixture that we had made before. I did use the rest of that up here on this second layer. So I'm just going to add some more cheese, some more sauce. I have to be honest with you, I did do a little taste test of this sauce in between takes, and it is delicious. Mark's gonna taste too, and he's very excited. I asked him, I said, now do you see why I don't use jarred sauce? And I think now he understands. All right, so I'm all done spreading out the sauce on top of our lasagna. And we are, of course, going to want to add another layer of the Daya mozzarella cheese. However, it said to cover it and bake it for 25 minutes. So what I'm going to do is when I uncover it, then I'm going to add the cheese and bake it for the extra 5 minutes. I don't want the cheese to stick to the foil. Then you have a whole mess and you have a lot of wasted cheese. So we're not going to do that. We're going to cover it in foil, bake for 25, remove the foil, layer with the cheese, bake for another 5, let it sit for 15. All right, stay tuned. Alrighty, here we go. We are pulling it out of the oven after 25 minutes at 375. So here's the grand reveal. Now, we're gonna add a few, oh, it actually looks like these noodles expand to kind of cover the whole, that's good. They're doing what they're supposed to do. That makes me happy. So, we're gonna add basically the rest of this bag of cheese. There we go. So we're going to smooth that out, and then we're going to pop it back in the oven. Again, it's still on the same temp, and we're going to bake it for another 5 minutes. Let it set for 15 and serve. Okay, it has been 13 minutes. It did say 15, but I just don't know how much willpower they think that I have, so we're going in at 13. So cutting through it, the pasta seems plenty soft enough. So I think 13 is a winner. So, all right, I'm gonna finish cutting this, and I'm gonna serve it up. Okay, so look at that. Look at those cheesy, ooey, gooey layers. I gotta be honest, I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really excited about this lasagna. So if you think that this was the first piece of lasagna out of the dish, I will admit that I cheated and I served my boyfriend's serving first because the first piece is always messy looking, but this is a perfectly crafted piece of lasagna. So I'm very, very, maybe a little bit overly excited to try it. But I'm just happy it's going to be an awesome Valentine's dinner. Praise him, amen, amen. You ever do something you're so proud of, you want to give your own self a high five? That's this right here. It's so good. It is so good. I hope that all of you have a beautiful, lovely, lovely, lovely Valentine's Day with your loved ones. And in the meantime, count your blessings, love yourselves, love your food, and live your life.